Welcome, Chris.
Hello, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's good. So, why don't we just start with you telling us about what is vertical video?
Yeah, absolutely. So I've been on a lot of podcasts lately, and people ask me that question, and I take for granted the things that I know. But let's look at video for a moment, specifically for social media. So there's technically four types of video formats or aspect
Uh-huh.
ratios, as you'll call them. The one is square, so you'll typically see that on Instagram. It's one of the probably the only platform where you'll see the content in the shape of a square. On most platforms like LinkedIn, Facebook, you'll traditionally see video horizontally. So imagine for a moment you took your phone if you're just listening, and I'm holding it here horizontally, the wide way. Well, what's going to happen is if you shoot the video that way, you will have a horizontal or more rectangular shaped video. If you hold your phone differently, meaning in the vertical format, and you record a video, you would then have a vertical aspect ratio type video, meaning that would be the ideal format to take up the entirety of your phone screen for a platform like TikTok, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, potentially Snapchat, and of course YouTube Shorts. So we're talking
Right.
about a video in the vertical format, and a lot of times when I use that term, I'm so often referring to, again, it is the Reels, the Shorts, TikTok, etc.
I got it. And so, why vertical video? I mean, why? Just take that a little deeper for us, please.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I can say, why, I think I have to go back and talk about the evolution of vertical video. So about 5 years ago, Facebook would have told you that the horizontal, meaning this the traditional style video, was the way to go. People were tilting their phones to watch videos. And then kind of a newer phenomenon came around where now you had a video that took up the full space of your phone screen, and people no longer had to go through that weird rotation of
Yes.
their phone, because we've all done it where it's like, I rotate it, oh, I got to rotate it again, and it keeps moving because our phone keeps moving. Well, um, algorithms and platforms determined that the users would much rather hold the phone the way it is in the vertical format than rotate it. And so we saw Musically, which is now TikTok, come along, and they cut into the market share quite a bit. Well, actually, Snapchat was doing it around the same time, and a lot of young people were migrating to TikTok, Snapchat, and they were spending a lot of time there. And a few years ago, Facebook, Instagram, the Meta company, saw that their lunch was getting eaten by these other platforms,
Yes.
because people were not only using these platforms, but the time spent on the platform, on the app, was so much greater than people in my age demographic in their 40s, the parents, were spending on their platforms. And so TikTok said, or rather Facebook Meta said, hey, we need to adapt vertical video. So they introduced Reels, and that was their way of competing with TikTok. And so what's kind of happened over the years, and we see this natural revolution in time, where when I was in college, Facebook came out in '04. And then what happened is my generation started to graduate and go into the real world. And then moms and dads were like, hey, my son who lives away from me, I want to connect with him and all of his friends to see what they're up to so we can keep in touch. And then what happened was the generation after us did the same thing. And then the young people said, hey, we don't want to be on the same platform as our mom and dad. We're going to move to Instagram. And then they moved to Snapchat. And then they moved
Uh-huh.
to TikTok. And then the parents migrate. And then the grandparents migrate. And then the great grandparents migrate. And next thing you know, everybody's on there. And now the young people are on Visco and Be Real. And there's all kinds of other platforms out there. So there's this natural evolution of vertical video. The other part is that the platforms are prioritizing vertical video because they know that is what the people want. And again, Instagram said it was the middle of last year they were going to double down on vertical video. So they're actually giving business pages, greater reach, organic reach. So what that means is that if you post a vertical video, your content will be seen by more people organically or naturally without it being boosted or advertised. And so businesses love that because all of a sudden a vertical video could be seen by tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of people, where you don't get that in the news feed. The traditional news feed organic reach is about 6 or 7%, and that's not a guess. That's a cold hard fact right there. So basically, where we're at right now with vertical video is it's what the users of these platforms want, but it's also what the algorithms want. So if you were to post, and I did this comparison last fall with one of my businesses, is I compared 3 Instagram photo posts to 3 Instagram reels, the vertical videos.
Yes.
And on this particular page, I had about 900 followers, which is nothing to brag about. And the average reach number of people who saw the post would be anywhere from 80 on a good post to maybe 45 on a bad post. Now, there were a few outliers that were greater and lower, but that was a kind of natural range. And I'd have 5 likes on average. Well, the reach and engagement on the vertical videos was 6,000% more reach and 3,000+% more engagement. Now, again, I'm not talking about 20%, 100%, 500%. I'm talking about 1,000%.
Yes.
And so when people say, how do I stand out? What do I do? Well, right now, there's more and more creators every day because they see the same opportunity that I'm seeing and my clients are seeing. But if you wait 6 months from now, there's going to be more and more and more people. So it's like going to Disneyland. You want to get there an hour before the gates open so you can get to the ride you want without waiting in line. Well, that's going to change if you wait midday when the park's at full capacity. And the same is true of, really being an early adapter with some of these things. You want to get there before everybody else does so that you can stand out. You can't beat the algorithm, but you can play to it. And that is what the platforms want. They're going to reward you for utilizing vertical video.
Got it. And so I hear your point is that although it's already seems to be taking off and running, it's still not too late to really adopt vertical video and to start building using that format. But where does that leave though the use of horizontal format? Would that be more for like the long format where you have to have a longer content?
You don't have to do that. Certainly that would be the easy answer, no doubt.
I see.
However, what I'm doing is when I record my podcast, which is typically downloaded in a traditional format, in a rectangle, I can choose to edit in that and then upload to YouTube and put that on Facebook or wherever, and I can also download it in the vertical format. But what I've done, instead of making twice the amount of work, instead of editing it in both formats, is I just edit it in vertical format. I take that back. I do have the full-length episode on YouTube, so people can watch it in the traditional regular format. But what I post on social media with my micro content is exclusively vertical video clips. And I do that as a way to get people aware of the show, to watch these 30-second sound bites and say, wow, that was really interesting. I need to listen to the full episode. And so if you have the capability, if you can record in the vertical format, that would be my preference, whether it be in a long format or be in a short format. I think that if you're looking for a maximization and efficiency of your time, I would probably not only record in vertical, I would also edit in the vertical format.
Got it. And I know that for myself, just I've gotten so used to, like, as they say, scrolling social media, the way to hold your phone and to scroll, you can do it with one hand. That's all vertical. And so there really is a change in the way people use social media, and the vertical video is there. And your point about the algorithm really favoring it is important for people to realize. I'm wondering if you could just give us some advice on where to start with creating vertical video.
Absolutely. So I get this question a lot, and there's definitely a few different ways I can take it. Is it if you're not producing a podcast and you're not comfortable on video, I would say know that most people are not going to judge you. They're not going to say, well, that sucked and that was a stupid video. People generally are not like that. But we all recognize that the first couple times we do it, it's not going to be as good as the 10th video or the 50th video, and that's okay. But you have to start somewhere. The same is true of podcasting. So, one of the things that I would recommend is that you have to find something, and if you're a coach, consultant, small business, you have to find something you're passionate about, you're knowledgeable about, and you have experience in. And if you can check all three boxes, you're likely a subject matter expert, and you're probably going to create some pretty good content. So let's just take me, for example. I am a digital marketing consultant. I could talk about a lot of things under that umbrella. So if there's ever a day or a time where I'm like, I don't know what to say, I will go to one of my news outlets. It could be a TechCrunch, entrepreneur.com. It could be a social media specific outlet. And I'll find an article about something that I find interesting. So about 8 weeks ago, Twitter announced that they're going to be introducing vertical video to their platform in the near future, probably coming in the next couple months. And I took a screenshot of that on my phone. Then I went into Instagram and I created a green screen video. So what happened was my background turns transparent. I could choose the image I wanted, and I then used that screenshot as my background. So what I would did is I'd say, hey, can you believe Twitter is one of the last platforms to the party to get on the vertical video train? And then I basically gave my 3 or 4 thoughts, took a Post-it note, stuck it on my computer, said, hey, these are the 3 to 5 things I want to cover. And I know I had 60 seconds or less. And believe it or not, I actually struggled to keep it under 60 seconds. And the other part is people say, well, I stuttered, or I do this and I do that. It's okay. You can edit all that out. So just keep going and edit out the pauses, edit out the moments where you look at your notes, and literally 5 minutes, you can have yourself a really nice vertical video. You can have it posted. And what I would do then is I would save it and I would post it to a whole bunch of platforms. So that's what's great about vertical video, is that you can repurpose, reuse, recycle. And if it's evergreen content, which this example is probably not, but if I'm just talking about strategy or tactics I can use right now, I might be able to repurpose that same video 3 months from now, and most people would have no idea. And so that to me is it's almost so easy that there's no excuse not to do it. The hesitation is not so much that it's not easy, and although I would say if you've never done it, I could understand why you might be a little scared or nervous, but I do a couple things. I can prop my phone against my monitor here that I have to my side. I also have a little kickstand here for my phone that it sits on. And then I make sure I've got a good sound environment, got my ring light on, I've got my notes, I feel prepared. And then, sometimes it takes me 3 runs to get through, but with a little bit of editing, the most it's going to take me is maybe 7 minutes. And so I'm on a mission right now to post a vertical video every single day for a whole year. And we'll see what the outcome looks like. But it's not as hard as most people make it. In fact, I would say it's probably not that much more time consuming than creating a post in Canva. But oh, by the way, it could be potentially 6,000% more effective. So would you do it even if it took twice the amount of time? I would say yes.
Yes.
You should.
Yeah, and you brought up a point that I'd like to just ask a question about editing, about chopping out. So, do you have a recommendation for like what software or how a person would go about doing that?
Yeah, a lot of people I know really love CapCut. But what you'll find is that any of the free, or what I call freemium tools, will have some limitations with music, background, choices, even templates. Some of them have templates, which are really nice. But ultimately, what you'll want to do is upgrade to a paid tool. So if you do use CapCut, which is a phenomenal tool, make sure you're getting the professional version. I use a tool called VideoLeap, which I exclusively use on my phone, because most of what I record is on my phone. And then everything that I record, I will save to a Dropbox or a Drive. So that way I have it again. Because I don't want 50 videos bogging down my phone, because obviously we all have limited space. But I do recommend investing in that because, for $60, I think is what I paid. I've already found that, I've been able to pick up hundreds of followers and subscribers. So to me, it's all worth it because it allows me to create a product that's better looking. And I will say this about what you create is reflective of you and your personal brand and your service. So if you're interested in making a really good first impression with your prospects, just with people in your industry, it is really important that the content you create matches the type of products and services that you offer. So if you believe you're the best coach in this industry or the best consultant in this space, you need to have quality content that reflects that, because if you're taking videos where the camera's shaking and the sound is bad and it's pixelated, people are going to look at you and say, oh, okay, sure, great consultant and great marketing expert. Now, I say that because you should take pride, but again, they don't have to be perfect. You just have to focus on adding value to the followers. And so quality, yeah, it's important, but it's not the most important. It's the message that is the most important. So I would much rather you focus on a really good message rather than saying, well, I've got these $300 lights in my office and I've got this $500 microphone. You don't need a whole lot of that. You just need to really know your subject and focus on adding value rather than trying to sell to your audience.
Excellent. I wonder, is there a time limit as far as how long a vertical video can be and still meet the requirements?
Almost all platforms are at 60 seconds.
I see.
And if I were to make a recommendation, I would say that most of what you should do should be anywhere from 20 to 45. If you read any articles online, they're going to tell you 20 seconds, 25 is probably the best. And that may very well be true. But I don't like to force anyone into a certain time because, as I've found with my podcast, it's really hard to get people to give you a 60-second or shorter answer. So I struggle to kind of pull out some of those nuggets, and sometimes they're a little bit cut at the end. But I do notice that shorter videos, 45 seconds and under, tend to perform a little bit better. So it's up to you. But again, what's really interesting is that if you tease a subject, so if you talk about a trending topic or something happening in your industry, you can say at the end, hey, check out my blog post to learn more, or check out the full podcast to get the whole story. So there are different ways to kind of convert people to your website or turn them into subscribers. And so I do like the idea. And for those of you listening that say, and I get this a lot, what the heck am I going to say in 20 seconds?
Right.
You'd be surprised how much you can get across in 20 to 30 seconds. The key there is, how do you convey the message? And so I've found historically, I used to be a more is more guy, where I thought I had to just give everybody every word I could. I was adding fluff into a lot of the stuff that I wrote. And I realized over time, as I became a better writer, especially copywriting, was the most powerful message you can convey, typically less is more, because you're being more creative and you're choosing more powerful words. And so that's ultimately what's important, is cut the fat, get to the important stuff, and your videos will be far more effective because of that.
So true. So is there any words of wisdom you can give people to, I heard the part about, well, what can I say in 20 seconds? But if you were going to help somebody start developing their skills with 20 to 30 second videos, is there any kind of guidance you could give us?
Yeah. But the first thing I would say is I like to encourage people just to take action. I read a book recently called Ready, Fire, Aim. And it was a lot of things that I've always thought, which is if you stop to think or put too much time into the strategy and how is this going to look or what are people going to think, you'll end up not taking action, or the action you will take will be greatly delayed. And what happens is the more time you allow to pass, the more imposter syndrome, self-doubt, fear sets in. And so I would much rather you get out there and just start firing away, because you're going to learn. You're going to look back at those 10 videos that you create over the next 10 days, and you're going to say, wow, you know what? Those green screen videos Chris told me about, those work way better than the ones where I stand in front of a camera and I talk about social media tips. And so I think you just have to do it, and then you can learn based on your audience in your geographic region, because some of these things may change based on what you produce and who you are, what's going to work and what to try next. And so I think number one, you just got to do it. Number two, you don't need fancy equipment. Things do not have to be fully prepared. A lot of times, if I have a break in my day or a meeting gets canceled, I'll go to one of those websites and I'll look for an interesting article. I'll take a screenshot and I just do it. I don't think about it. The most thinking I do is maybe have my couple bullet points on a Post-it note, and I go off of that. And it's very authentic. It's very much from the heart. And that is what works. People don't necessarily want to be sold to. So when you create your messaging, try to stay away from any of that. My mission is to focus so much on adding value that as a byproduct over a period of time, people come back to and they say, hey, Chris, I really enjoyed those couple podcasts you were on. I learned so much. There's a lot you could do to help me with my business. And I'll tell you that over the course of the years, when I worked for a marketing agency, I was the opposite. I did a little bit of posting, but I was always cold messaging and spamming and reaching out to people. And now, after years of trying to build my personal brand, now I'm getting people that come to me that want me on their podcast. And not a lot, but some, at least a couple a month. I get people that reach out to me that want to have a conversation and want to know what I'm doing, because they're seeing my content. They're seeing that I'm out there speaking and producing videos. And so I've positioned myself as a thought leader. And that's what I would encourage anybody listening today is take what you're knowledgeable about, what you're passionate about, what you have the experience about, one, the other, or all three, and create video content around it. And I think that over the course of time, with consistency, you will see growth. There's no doubt. But like anything here, you have to just do it. You have to be consistent, and you have to be patient. And all the other stuff I said, it's all a part of the recipe for success. But it works. It definitely works. But you just got to do it.
Wow, that's so inspiring, and I thank you for that. I just wonder if you have any, like an example of a success story of somebody that switched, they've taken your guidance and what happened to their business?
Yeah, so we've certainly helped a lot of different clients who have done this. One that comes to mind is a client we worked with who had a podcast, and we ended up doing it for our podcast, is basically taking every single show and turning that into at least 10 to 12 pieces of micro content. Now, micro content would be basically the vertical videos, anything that would be under 60 seconds, and creating top of the funnel awareness. So you can't expect that people are going to go out and download your podcast, right? Unless they're actively listening to podcasts or searching for something like that. But you can get a lot of people to become aware of your podcast or aware of your service by all of these different micro clips. So we basically took about 10 pieces of content, podcasts that is, and came up with over 120 pieces of micro content, which are vertical videos for platforms. And I don't know the exact numbers, but it was something that over the course of a couple of months was able to amass well over 1,000 subscribers, and I think like 500,000 downloads and views in total. And so we're now using that for my personal podcast, which is the Hustle Nation podcast. And it is amazing to see just this very slow organic growth with followers, with subscribers, engagement, reach. And when you get to a certain point where you get to 25, 30 episodes in, people see you as being established. They say they see your content on different platforms. And then you get to a point with maybe 50 videos or 50 shows, and now you're starting to generate business from it. And so it becomes more and more motivating, but you got to break that threshold of 25 to 50 episodes, and you have to take that show and break it up into that micro content. And we use a tool called Riverside FM to record the show. And Riverside allows you to download either in, like I said, horizontal video, square, or vertical video. And we download in vertical video and we cut up those micro pieces of content. And it probably takes me less than an hour to get those 10 pieces of content. And then, like I said, I put them in Dropbox so they can be used at a later date. And then I take one a day at least, and I post it to a variety of platforms. And that maximizes my reach by unbelievable amount. And so that is something that I would recommend if you do have a podcast, or if you just want to hop on Zoom, like a lot of podcasters do. Record a conversation with yourself or with a colleague, with a guest, and then make that your podcast. Put that on YouTube, start a channel, and you'll be surprised how many people you can get organically.
That is absolutely amazing. And so thank you so much for this overview and the inspiration on vertical video.
If you got benefit from this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and hit that bell notification so you know when our next video comes out. And we'd love to hear comments from you, so comment below. Thanks.
Yep, thank you.